Dragon Shield sleeves are only $7.99 on flipsidegaming.com right now. And if you use the promo code CGB at checkout, you will save 10% and support the channel at the same time. So remember to use the promo code CGB. Hello and welcome back to another day in the arena. It's me, it's CGB, and today in Magic Arena, you are going to learn that Nexus of Fate is banned. Yes, that's right. There is now an Magic Arena Best of One banned list, and the card on it is Nexus of Fate. As you can see here, my Nexus of Fate deck has a little exclamation point on it to let me know I cannot play it in Best of One Standard. If I edit the deck, you will see that it is blurred out. You'll also see that there's a new deck editor and a number of other little improvements with the patch, but of course everybody's talking about the hated Nexus of Fate. When we switch the layout, you'll see this red 4. Here's the thing, you can still play it in traditional standard in best of 3, but you cannot play it in best of 1. It will not let you queue up with such a deck. Also, isn't it interesting that we now have this filter for different formats? Maybe more formats are coming, but that's beside the point. So, Nexus of Fate, it got banned in Best of One. Why did this happen? Well, of course, first of all, we're all probably celebrating, dancing on tables and such, and getting crazy excited, but if you are the type of person who needs to know why things happen, I have a theory. It's a very deep theory, full of dark twists and betrayals. In a nutshell, the video that I made with Nexus of Fate was my most downvoted video of all time. Some would say I turned on my audience. Some would say the audience turned on me. Regardless, there was a tweet sent from yours truly to @MTG Arena, pointing out that I had set a new personal record for dislikes on my channel, all because of Nexus of Fate. Within 24 hours of that tweet, Nexus of Fate was banned. Coincidence? I think not. We did it. You're welcome. Anyway, let's get into the real video for today, which is a bit of another janky deck that came out of a brew session I did on a recent stream. This deck is built around Primeval's Glorious Rebirth. So, what are we up to? This card says return all legendary permanent cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. It is a legendary sorcery, so you have to have a legend to cast it. It is 7 mana. It is crazy, but it brings back a whole bunch of legendary stuff. So what I teamed it up with is Lazav the Multifarious, just because I wanted a cheap legend and an early blocker. I teamed it up with these little planeswalkers, the cheap planeswalkers from Ravnica Allegiance, because they can take some damage, absorb some hits, and then we can bring them back. Karn Scion of Urza jumps in to join the fight. Some other legendary cards are Search for Iskanta and Profane Procession. Thought Erasure makes sure that your combo can happen. Kaya's Wrath kills creatures. And then Lyra Dawnbringer and Teferi are your heavy hitters, with Imbolus's Clutches, that is also legendary, to take away the best thing from the opponent. Oath of Teferi just feels like going off in this deck. It's so wild. Once you have it and you cast a Primeval's Glorious Rebirth, by the way, it's also legendary, so it comes back from the graveyard. You just can do so many absolutely wacky things, and it's very, very fun. This is not particularly good against cheap aggro decks, but against other mid-range decks and maybe some jank fests, you can certainly have a good time. So I wanted to play this deck for a little bit of an unwind, and I hope that you enjoy it. Well, we have a turn 2 Discovery, nothing on turn 3. Kaya's Wrath is going to require some white mana, which we don't have yet, but maybe Discovery can smooth that over and maybe Karn can find it. On the draw, I'm of course nervous that I will get run over, but I think I get run over with this deck anytime I face something too aggressive. So let's try. Alright, black mana go. I drew this Watery Grave, which we don't want to get shocked, so we'll lead with that. Enters the battlefield tapped. Now it's time for Overgrown Tomb. Okay, I think we can take on any kind of a Golgari mid-range deck, as we have a very powerful endgame, as long as they're not doing wild growth into Jade Light things. So there's a Dovin. I would love the Dovin. I'm going to put the Karn in the graveyard. We can get it back later with the Rebirth. And yeah, definitely want to play Dovin next turn. Dovin has a minus that makes a Thopter and gains 1 life, a plus that lets us put loyalty counters on Dovin when creatures attack. So let's get it cooking.
I look forward to doing your mistakes.
Too many voice lines. I have to space that out. All right, the opponent's playing into Kaya's Wrath pretty well, and we drew the white mana to use it. That is good for us. Now remember, we don't mind Dovin dying, but at the same time we want to absorb as much as my opponent's attacks as we can. So I'm going to keep making dorks, and let's get Karn down there. Whoa, connection server lost. What on earth? I felt like I was playing just fine. This seems to be happening more and more, but getting back into the games has been easier and easier, so let's cross our fingers.
Let's add this battle to your record of bad decisions.
So many voices. Okay, plussing Karn or minusing Karn? I think making more creatures is a pretty good route for the situation, but really to cast the Rebirth, I need a legendary permanent on the battlefield. So I'm going to plus the Karn. Try to pile up the loyalty so that Karn can live long enough for the Rebirth to be cast. Our opponent found land number 3. Let's see if that's a Jade Light Ranger. Well, Branchwalker. Seeker Squire, Wild Growth Walker, attacking Dovin. So we let Dovin die. If we blocked either one of these...
An anomaly not to be repeated.
If we had blocked either one of these, Dovin would still bite the dust, so no reason to block. And look who we drew. But first, let's plus the Karn again. The Karn whipping through the deck, finding all these land. We need another white on the battlefield, so I'm going to... Well, I shouldn't have picked this already. I should have played one of these. I can play Dovin and Discovery Dispersal, but I sort of missed the boat there. That said, hanging on to Discovery Dispersal for the other mode could be very useful if our opponent has something that's not a creature, like a Planeswalker. So I'm going to play you tapped. We're going to play the Dovin. And we're going to minus to make another Thopter. Just a small example of genius, I think is what he said. It's very hard to hear. By the way, a new feature of the update that I really like, you see these little eyeballs, and here in the corner it says revealed. This card has been revealed to your opponent. This means I don't have to sort my hand around to tell which cards I need to reveal and not reveal anymore. So once again, the opponent is attacking Dovin. We can block here, we can block here, but Dovin will still die either way, so we will let Dovin die.
I don't like it, but I accept defeat.
He doesn't like it, friends, but he accepts defeat. What a trooper. All right, Karn, let's plus again. Just keep the pluses coming. And of course we don't get to Fairy. That would be crazy. All right. So I'm very tempted to Thought Erasure and then consider Kaya's Wrath, but we have blockers. It's unlikely our opponent can tack down the Karn this turn, so the Kaya's Wrath isn't necessary. So instead, I'm going to Thought Erasure the hand. What do we have here? We have a Vivian Reed, we have 2 Finds, and a Chupacabra. 2 Finds. That's a lot of finding. I feel like I should be limiting that. It makes my Kaya's Wrath much less effective. Vivian Reed, though, is a pretty scary card, and it's not easy for my deck to deal with it. While as dealing with creatures over and over, we can kind of do. So I'll take the Vivian Reed, another Rebirth on top. Is that what I want? Showing it to my opponent is pretty bad, to be honest. So, yeah, let's take it. Let's draw it into the hand. We don't want the opponent to know everything we're up to. So now that I've seen their hand, I'm going to use the discovery to dig. We'll put that land in the graveyard, and we'll play one of these revealed lands that the opponent saw because of Karn, and we'll hold back our blockers to take some of these hits. The opponent with a Seeker Squire revealing Overgrown Tomb. The walkers are growing. They keep growing and growing and growing. Now let's see if one of those finds gets cast. Yeah, of course. Now attacking Karn. Now we don't want Karn to die. We need it to cast the Rebirth, so we'll absorb the biggest hits.
You are acting unwisely.
Alright, Lazev off the top. So, right now we get back a Dovin and another Karn. So, I think this turn is about Kaya's Wrath getting back to Teferi and casting Lazev. So, we'll -4 Teferi.
What was lost is now returned.
We will Kaya's Wrath the board. We'll play a Lazev the Multifarious just to have a creature down here. And we can definitely throw... Nice animation. We can definitely throw another land into the graveyard off the Surveil, and we'll play one of these tapped lands because it was revealed. See if the opponent wants to play a Chupacabra or some Explorer creatures. Right now, Lazev can't copy anything, and honestly, that's pretty normal. The card is mainly just something to throw in the way. All right. So in this spot, I'm going to minus the Karn to make a creature. I'm going to play the Teferi. As long as we're staying ahead of our opponent's creatures, I feel pretty darn good. And I'll play this because my opponent's seen it. Just let them wonder what's in my hand. I'm not really worried about shock land issues very much longer. That we have drawn an incredible amount of land in the top half of our deck. I know, you're just itching out there for that Primeval's Glorious Rebirth. It's coming. It's coming. Well, Chupa-Dupa, Karn or Teferi. I'm going to let the Karn... No, I'm not going to let it die. I'd rather have a card than the 1/1, right? Although with Dovin and with more Karn coming, this is actually a pretty... These get strong really fast. Okay, I'm not blocking. I've got a plan.
I will endure.
Ooh, and then the plan changed. So I was going to Primeval's Glorious Rebirth and minus the Karn and minus the Dovin. Have a nice little horde of things. Let's draw with Teferi, see if that changes our plan. My goodness. Well, since I have 2 rebirths, I'm going to use the first one right now. Ta-da! Do you like a lot of noise out of your critters? Oh, that is a really fun card too, and the opponent doesn't want to go through dealing with all those planeswalkers again. And they're going to scoop it up. This hand is good. We have Thought Erasure into Kaya, into Karn, into Someday Rebirth. Pretty much what we signed up for. Here comes Hallowed Fountain tapped, so we can play Isolated Chapel and Thought Erasure on turn 2. Simic Guildgate from the opponent, possibly a Gates deck. And it is a Gates deck, so how do we want to play this? Our opponent has the blue and green for the Growth Spiral. The Gates Ablaze isn't a big concern. The Guild Summit is probably the card I'm most scared of, so let's grab that. I don't need another mana right now. The Kaya's Wrath, I don't see it yet, so I have a feeling that Karn can get us more land. Plaza turn 2 to play Growth Spiral. Okay. Didn't worry about the life gain. I guess that's not a big deal. Let's get Kaya cooking. The sooner the better. You just want to overload the opponent with planeswalkers most of the time. The end. Okay. Let's plus again. No targets this time. If you don't want to exile your own graveyard, and I don't want to, I just hit end search here, which is kind of weird to get used to because it just doesn't feel right. All right, here comes Karn, the Scion of Urza. All these planeswalkers talking out over each other. I may just turn off voice lines.
I advise that you yield.
Karn advises yielding. What a guy. But I'm going to plus. Anything that we minus with right now is going to get
I'll make use of that later.
Gates Ablazed. Ooh, that's a nice split. Either one of those can keep the opponent's win cons away. Also, now they unfortunately sort of know about the clutches. But we'll see. This is no longer can be a Nexus of Gates deck. That card is banned. But how would it win Gatebreaker Ram, Hydroid Crassus, those big mana things? Get them. And I don't need the land, so I'll just retrieve the clutches right now in case something happens to Karn. Clutches is a very good card to have. Here's Lazav. Search for his Kanta is wonderful. It also comes back with Rebirth, but I don't want to wait for that. Our opponent's doing a good job ramping. We'll give him that. Much ramp is happening. This is one of those situations where if I found my Oath of Teferi, I'd be sitting pretty. There's a Gatebreaker Ram. All right. So, let's start with a Karn Plus.
The choices we make reveal who we are.
Mordekai's Wrath. The opponent knows about one of them. They hand me the other. Well, I have no problem blowing this up. None at all. Then we can exile the graveyard, gain some life. And here is Search for his Kanta. Let's get that going. Let's go to audio. Voice is about medium. I'm going to turn it up. I mean, if we're going to listen to the Planeswalkers, let's have them loud enough to hear. Here's Guild Summon. Uh-oh. That can draw a lot of cards. And the sad thing is, I can use Bolus's Clutches on it, but that doesn't actually do me much good. Like, I don't gain anything. So I sort of have to let my opponent draw their deck. I could graveyard this and rebirth it back. What's in the graveyard? Just a Lazav right now. So I think I'll put this library. All right, no graveyard to exile here. I could -5 Kaya and make my opponent lose 6. I think I have to do better.
Want something banished? Funny, that's what I do.
All right. So, do we start making dorks? Dovin has to make dorks anyway. The opponent will only Gates Ablaze them, though.
There's no accounting blood pumping.
Maybe yours will hold.
So, I'm going to keep plussing the Karn instead.
An excellent choice.
What a beautiful set of choices we have here. All right, Discovery Dispersal. Again, I could hold this to take out whatever big permanent, but I don't think that's really worth it in this spot. And there's a Lyra. Lyra's pretty strong, but just dies to Gates Ablaze. Where are we on flipping this? We're on 4 cards. I think I'll flip my Azcanta so that I just have... I really want to find Teferi and get this steady stream of Planeswalkers going forever and ever. We also still have a land down here if we want to hit our next land drop. And I'm curious when the opponent is going to do something. So the Planeswalker with an ultimate that they really don't beat is Teferi. So that's the one I need to get on the battlefield and start ticking up. And there's Gatebreaker Ram. There's another Dovin. We can graveyard that in this spot, transform as Kanta. We got one card in the graveyard. Let's... What to do? What to do? I feel like eventually it will be important enough to have a Kaya's Wrath available for when a bunch of Gatekeeper, Gate Colossus size thingies come down. I need to deal with this somehow. I think what I'll do is plus Dovin.
There is elegance in simplicity.
Attack with Thopter. Since the opponent knows about the Kaya's Wrath, they're not going to play into it. They also know about the Bolus's Clutches, so they're going to try to play around that. Let's get rid of you.
I'm really good at banishing things.
Banishing is just her bag, baby. Let's go get a land
This will aid us.
rather than risk missing. And end the turn. The Super Friends at it again, just looking for their boss Teferi to come help them out. The Justice League right now doesn't have Captain America. Yep, you are going to draw your deck. This is sort of something I have to come to terms with. But I've actually dealt with a lot of Gates decks, and while they're usually good at drawing their deck, if you can handle the right things, they aren't as good at winning the game. So our plan is to run them out of ways to win the game, let them draw their deck. Expansion Explosion, maybe they could deck us. That is a bit of a headache. So we're going to have to keep them very busy. Basically every turn I probably need to make some amount of creatures. But they sort of have to do that too, and they didn't make creatures this turn, which means I can seize initiative. Another Kaya or another Karn? I suppose none, just decline and leave them in the deck. Leave them in the deck for later. No, let's go ahead and take the Karn. That way we can start minusing this Karn and that Karn, and yeah. We'll just start putting pressure on the battlefield every turn. And now the opponent has to discard, so the Kaya can suck away some resources. We're up to an 8 here on Graveyard, by the way. That's a lot of land. The Rebirth gets back Lyra, gets back a Dovin and a Lazev. Our opponent's at 19. All right, let's start making things.
Some solutions must be built.
Inspired by a good assault.
I suppose that playing you doesn't have too much of a downside. And I'm going to keep plussing. I think I'm in a spot where one more plus, I can then go minus minus.
Funny, that's what I do.
And if I go minus minus, I can win the game. And then we'll say go. Opponent might have to read that ultimate. Where are we at? 25? Gate Colossus. Okay. How many of those do you have? And Carnage Tyrant. Okay. Well, the opponent did not Gates Ablaze first. That's kind of strange, considering it would kill both of their creatures. I guess they're trying to ignore my dorks. But my dorks matter. Because they do build up. Alright. I guess I get nothing. You get nothing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8, 9. I suppose more land isn't the worst thing. I have plays already, so I don't need more land. Or I do need, or I can use more land, is what I should say. So right now the most expensive card is a Colossus. I could bounce that to the opponent's hand, but that's the thing I can most easily grab with the clutch. So let's say come here. We'll see what the opponent has up their sleeve. They run negate. Okay. So they still have this 8-8 and this 7-6. Let's minus Kaya. Hiya. Drain ya.
Feel the pain of every outcast thing.
Every outcast thing. All right. Let's make some more dorks. Like I said, the dorks matter.
There is great power in the things we make.
This is just a small example of my genius.
And we'll play our tap land. Say go. We'll see if our opponent has some spot removal ready. We're definitely in an interesting game. Our opponent at 9 can't afford to let this Kaya minus again. But they can't Gates Ablaze away these creatures, so they need some spot removal. If they have some, they'll be in a good spot. Okay, they can also deliver Explosion. That's perfectly fine.
This time.
I mean, I don't know if I would define it as fine, but it's a thing. Okay, attack the Dovin, attack the Karn. Well, I think my opponent is going to Gates Ablaze anyway, because the counter attack is lethal. So let's protect our stuff. Something like this, perhaps. We do have another Karn anyway. I could let it die. The thing is, if something from this set dies, then the opponent doesn't have to blow up the board. But what about protecting Dovin? Do I care about Dovin enough? If I just absorb the Dovin bump, and then I can play Karn and minus Dovin, I think I can make this big enough to at least threaten a dangerous enough counterattack that the opponent will have to Gates Ablaze. So I'm going to do that. I think it's a little too risky to pile up the blocks the way I just did, because if the opponent kills even one Thopter, the whole block falls apart, and then I have no creatures and they keep their creatures, and they don't have to Gates Ablaze, and I need them to Gates Ablaze, because otherwise they just have a commanding battlefield. Clarion, ooh. I didn't see that one coming. These Gates decks, it's hard to tell exactly what's in them all the time, but this also allows us to Rebirth. Okay, opponent, are you done? Ah, they still need to discard. All right, I'm going to keep drawing land. I'm not worried about... I am a little worried about having enough. Let's minus and make a Thopter.
You're doing me a favor.
Now this is fun. We're going to be bringing an Imbolus's Clutches out of the graveyard. That can attach to things even when they have hexproof. So let's do it. Now, the Colossus, though, is the better take. I'm getting a Lyra, though. I'll take the Tyrant because it's cute. Just to show that I can. I will keep this Dovin.
Anyone would be so foolish as to face me.
And that's another rather massive happening here. So, we can't attack, so we may as well take the Dovin down, even though it's probably Gates Ablaze bait. Now Kaya is back, so hopefully we can get back on the mission of
Funny, that's what I do.
minusing Kaya to win the game. And Karn can keep minusing, because I have backup Karns for days.
Righteous army.
And I imagine this board will receive a Gates Ablaze at some point. Ta-da! The opponent knows about this Karn. They don't know about this clutch. They're looking at Kaya again. Oh no. We're at 41 life. I think the opponent's only play will be to expansion explosion my deck, and it's unclear right now how many they run. Okay, they run Crassus. They're playing a Whittle Crassus because they're worried about decking too. How many Kaya's Wrath do I still have? 2. Alright. It would be good if I can find a way to kill the Colossus so it goes to the graveyard, then Kaya can exile it. So I might start out the turn with an Azcanta the Sunken Ruin activation. And I might minus the Karn to get a Discovery too and look for Kai's Wrath. This would be a very ideal turn to use that. I think the opponent's trying to choose their discards, and they're having a hard time with it. Ooh, that can become a Lyra. That could be handy. I mean, at least to get in the way. So let's do what I said and start with the search. Do I have enough land to play Lazev and Lyra after that? Not really, no. Maybe it's better to go with the Discovery. But the search gets deeper. Let's give it a shot. Profane Procession. Awesome. But I could also Thought Erasure and Expansion Explosion here, but if they have that, they'll copy the Thought Erasure, which is very bad. So I can play this, but I can't use it this turn, which is too bad. I don't think I can defend the Kaya completely. If I take the Crassus, it can block the Colossus. I think that's my plan for trying to defend Kaya here. All right, that and making more dorks.
You don't mind if I enjoy this?
Ah, say hello to my little friend.
Now that I've decided on my line, I'm going to try to move quickly. Gimme. Let's see, how many rebirths do we have left? Still 2 more rebirths? Yeah, so we can bring back clutches at least 1 more time. Probably 2. And here comes the opponent. Here's the Crassus jumping in front. The opponent has 14 exiled cards. Is Kaya going to be lethal? Gates ablaze. Stuff is dead. Niv. Wow. Archway Angel, gain 1,000,000. Okay. Well, I have Profane Procession, so it's not a big deal. Give me that Niv. Although, of course, the opponent decking themselves would be pretty funny. The Archway Angel. What do I do? Well, we have to plus this Karn, so let's at least go there. Oath of Teferi, finally. Hopefully I can get that back. Let's get rid of the Colossus, make the Archway Angel attack the Kaya.
You're not welcome here anymore.
And we'll play out Lazev. The opponent knows about other Dovin. I am worried about my opponent fireballing my deck. What are we at? 25? What do they have for land? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15? 12 cards in their deck. We've seen 1 expansion explosion, I think. I guess I can't look in there right now. So yeah, I'm not going to bin. Play the land. Let's minus the Dovin for the Thopters to block the Angel. And let's pass the turn. I do think I have to deal damage to them, though, if I'm going to win this game. Might be very complicated. I also don't know if getting Niv back from Profane Procession is actually good. There was a case to be made for trying to deck them with their Niv, but I don't have enough instants or sorceries, I think, to pull that off. Oh my god. Oh my god. Alright. Well, that was something. That was something. Nice little pile of gates you got here. Holy crap.
Allow me to introduce you to a friend of mine.
There's only 2 cards in exile here, but now the opponent can tear up my Primeval's Glorious Rebirths. Don't do it. Don't do it, please.
This outcome surprises even me.
Oh, actually, I'm happy with that. They did not get rid of my clutches, which is how I get them back. So now I need a rebirth. Where are they? There's one on the very, very bottom. There's another in this group of cards right here. Opponent in the tank. What's the issue? You can turn the Lazev into a Carnage Tyrant or a Crassus, I guess. We lose a timeout. They're attacking. I'll take the hit. No Planeswalkers to defend here. Now we can graveyard this with the search. Decline on the transformation. Draw Kaya's Wrath. But how do I get my Kaya back? That's my question. I want my Kaya back. Kaya back. Kaya back. 1, 2, 3, 4 can do that. And then I can play Karn and Dovin. And it's right back to the races. Which, maybe that's okay. But I don't want Kaya to eat. I really don't want Kaya to exile the clutches. If the clutches get exiled, I'm in big trouble. So I'm going to start with his Kanta. There's Teferi. That can put the Kaya back into my deck. Then Teferi probably dies, but we have Rebirth. Let's see if the opponent has Negate, though. They don't. Looks like that was a one of.
I won't hide from the world any longer.
So bin that into my deck, please.
You need to take a time out.
And Teferi is very likely to die. That's okay. It's sad, but it's okay. Right now I have enough if I find a Rebirth to play Dovin and then Rebirth in one turn. Yep, draw those cards. Down to 8. 23. I don't know. My opponent seems to have so many individual cards that would take up the spots that Expansion Explosion would occupy that I'm starting to think they might only have 1 or 2. Let Teferi die.
This is hardly my worst defeat.
What is your next trick? In this epic battle of wills. Okay, there it is. Oh my god, if they have one more, if it's their last one, I can thought erase it. They did that main phase. They need to do that end step, I think. Maybe they're playing around a counterspell? Alright, thought erase you. That's a big play. There's a Banefire, a Deafening Clarion, and another Ram. Alright. So it's not another Expansion Explosion. We have another Thought Erasure we can play here. What's the right way to do it? Oh, the opponent scoops! They can't win anymore! We did it! I hope that you enjoyed this look at our games with the Primeval Glorious Rebirth deck. It's pretty fun if you like activating a lot of Planeswalkers. Don't be afraid to add more Oaths of Teferi for more absolute shenanigans. And yeah, it's a very fun deck. I would not be very competitive with it. It really isn't flexible enough. But if you enjoy a good old Super Friends type strategy, please, by all means, check it out. Thank you for watching this video. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye. Mana necklaces have arrived at hauntedflower.com. These necklaces are a great way to show your favorite MTG colors. Remember to use the promo code CGB at checkout to save 10%. That is promo code CGB on hauntedflower.com.